My name's Kirk Reirdin, and we're at the NIH in Building 10. So my research is in how the brain grows. Basically what we're trying to do is describe how the overall structure of the brain is related to the individual components of the brain. And in particular, one thing we're looking at is how that brain growth changes depending on whether you're a boy or a girl. And it turns out, one of the things that we're looking at is that as overall brain size changes, certain subregions of the brain don't change at the same rate. So I am from New York City. I'm from the area that the Seinfeld show is based on, the way uptown on the upper west side. And I grew up there in the 80s, and so I was sort of constantly exposed to homelessness, and so it was this interesting time when healthcare policy, and particularly mental health care policy, ended up kind of changing the human geography of New York City. Homelessness there was much more of a visible problem, and it's something that I was always sort of confused by as a kid. Sort of that's like a note that has, I guess, been in the background of why I decided to pursue psychiatry. Going forward in college, I majored in philosophy, and I've always been interested in human behavior on one level or another, like what motivates people, what shapes people, and kind of what inspires people and why. And the research I'm doing, I hope, will kind of influence our understanding of the disorders that kind of led a lot of people to be homeless on the street in the 80s. So what I do specifically, I mean, it's a huge project, and I guess it's best kind of broken down into two phases. There's the collection of the data, so taking pictures of people's brains, and then there's the making sense of the data, telling a story with the data. And what's cool about my project, and what's cool about the NIH in particular as an institution, is that it's the nation's hospital, so people from all over the country are referred here and can come here to take part in different studies. So I'm kind of piggybacking on 20 to 30 years of research in this field, where they've brought people in once a year for the last 20 years, and they scan their brains, and they've seen how it's changed over time. And what I do specifically is I look at those pictures of the brains, and I sort of build huge databases that lets me run different statistical tests on what underlying features of the brains aren't necessarily visible on first glance. Cool. I mean, it's a very unique sort of opportunity. I was lucky in that I just found it by Googling it, and what really attracted me to it was that they would take you in as someone who was interested in research without any preconditions on what you're going to research, which is totally unique and kind of not in the institution's best interest. So I was like, this is a great deal for me, because I knew I love scholarship and kind of hashing out ideas and the uncertainty that comes from being a part of things as they're getting defined. And so I knew I wanted more of that. In my medical education, I hadn't had that much exposure to real research and real academics. I knew I was interested in psychiatry. I knew I was interested in it from like a human perspective, and also from a, for lack of a better word, like let's say a policy or social justice perspective, for how are we going to treat these people that have kind of been left to fall through the cracks, let's say. And so one of the reasons I came to the NIH is I saw an opportunity to more precisely define what mental illness was. And hopefully by improving our terminology and our scientific acumen for defining and identifying mental illness, that can also lead us to develop better social programs for treating people with these illnesses, and also hopefully even better medicines, better therapeutic interventions. So, and more importantly than anything, it's just really cool, right? I mean, it's, so I think that I've just always been aware of kind of the thrill of discovery, and I think that like psychiatric medicine right now is at a point where like the discoveries are coming really fast, and it's really cool to be involved in it.